Hello folks, and welcome to another episode of the Well Teacher Festival. I am absolutely thrilled, absolutely delighted to provide a little introduction to the quite wonderful, the quite remarkable Emma Turner. Emma Turner's brilliant book, Be More Toddler, which is this wonderful cracking read here, arrived in lockdown when I was sitting with my 2-year-old and we were experiencing huge amounts of toddler unrest. And to be honest, it absolutely brightened up my life. It's a fantastic piece of writing. Emma's core argument is that we need to embrace in both our leadership and our teaching the toddler philosophy. And in this presentation she's done for us today, you will have half an hour of that brilliant humour and wisdom, which will make you really reflect on the year ahead. So Emma takes us on a little journey. She begins with asking us to consider what are our chocolate buttons and what are our celery. And that'll make sense to you very shortly. But fundamentally, it's an exploration of what are our core values. Number one and number two, what are the things that we will not stand for in the year ahead? And then she applies this toddler metaphor in lots of different areas of teaching and leadership life. For example, are we as concerned with equity, with fairness, as our youngest citizens are? And will we, as they certainly do, will we call things out when they're not right? And then towards the end, I found this a brilliant part, an exploration on the basics. Our toddlers get absolutely beautifully right, but do we make time for the basics? Do we make time for ourselves as a holistic person that we bring to the classroom? And do we make time for play, for basic enjoyment that will help us be joyful and be kind of robust and resilient as teachers? So I'm going to stop rambling on. This is brilliant. I hope you really enjoy it. It's entertaining, it's funny, and I hope it kind of makes you think as much as it made me think. Okay, thank you.
Hi there, Emma Turner here. I'm so pleased to be part of this Well Teacher Festival. When Jamie Tom sent me the invitation, I was absolutely delighted to be part of it. So hello. Now you may or may not be pleased to know that I'm not going to do a PowerPoint. So it's just this face. So I apologise in advance if you're expecting a super slick PowerPoint, because there isn't one. Now what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit about my book, which you can probably see back there, and some ideas from it, which I think really do resonate with the current state of things in education and kind of the wider world. If you've not seen the book, it's called Be More Toddler, and that's my little boy there when he's very little in his tiger suit. And I just want to talk you through some of the ideas from it, which might be helpful when thinking about the academic year ahead. Now, as I said, my name's Emma Turner. I'm a primary school teacher. I've been in primary education for 23 years now. It seems terribly long. I'm currently the research and CPD lead for Discovery Schools Academy Trust, but I've worked as an assistant head, a deputy head, a national numeracy strategy consultant, and was one of the first all-female co-headships back in 2009, which ran for 8 years, and during which, between my co-head colleague and I, we had 5 babies in 5 years, hence the Be More Toddler book. I'm also an ambassador for the GEC, a TES columnist, and you might have seen me on New Ed. I'm the founder of New Ed, which is joyful CPD for early career teachers, but I'm also the self-titled chaos coordinator of my 3 small children at home. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Be More Toddler. Now, at the moment, we're facing a kind of a recruitment and a retention crisis in education, which is now surrounded also by everything that's happened as a result of the pandemic. So it's a time for really starting to think about what we believe in as teachers, what we stand for, and what we would like to do with this new opportunity, the new way of working, because we could just try and go back to everything we've always done, or we could use this opportunity to start to think a little bit more differently about the infrastructure, about the organisation, and about the delivery of our education. I wanted to talk a little bit about hanging on to these two things. I told you I've got no PowerPoint, but I have got some props. Talking to you about celery and chocolate buttons. And you'll notice this chocolate buttons bag has been opened. A long day. But what we need to be clear about in education, whether it be in teaching or in leadership, is what are our chocolate buttons and what are our celery. And by that, I mean that when I was observing my 3 very young children, I noticed that one thing that they would hang on to for grim death, normally in a post office queue with a lot of tutting people collecting pensions or dropping off parcels and things, was chocolate buttons. And there was one day when my eldest daughter, she'd found some chocolate buttons on the shelf of the post office and she was not letting them go for love nor money. There was nothing I could do to bribe her, convince her, encourage her to give those up. That was what she was holding on to. And I thought to myself, do you know what? That's what we need to be really clear about in education. One way we can be more toddler in education is to be really clear about what are our educational chocolate buttons. So when we're thinking about the year ahead, be that in a leadership role, classroom teacher role, classroom support role, any role within education, what are the things that you really want to hang on to? What do you believe in? What will you fight for? What will you stand for? If somebody kind of cut you open like a stick of rock, what would it say through the centre of you? What do you really believe? So find out what your chocolate buttons are. The converse to the chocolate buttons is the celery, which to my children, it doesn't matter how I chop it, cut it, fricassee it, fry it, disguise it. They are united as a trinity of celery haters. To them, it is a stringy devil of a veg. They are having absolutely none of it. And even though they are very different children, very different personalities, they are absolutely united in we're not having this. So once we've kind of identified our chocolate buttons in our role, what we also need to be very clear about are what is our celery? What are the things that we are absolutely going to say no to every time? What will we not stand for? What will we rally and rail against? What will we think, no, that's not how we do things here, or this is not what I believe in. This is what I'm going to stand up against. This is what I'm going to challenge. This is what I'm going to say, thank you, but no thanks, that's not for us. Because once we've decided what our chocolate buttons are and what our celery is, then decision making in any role becomes a hell of a lot easier because everything's aligned with a really clear foil or decision making process. Does it align with what we believe in? Yes, well, let's do it. Does it align with what we believe in? No, then that's not for us. And it gives you confidence and really getting to grips with what do I believe in? What do I not believe in? Helps to avoid being swept along with the latest educational fad or the latest piece of work that everybody says you've got to do it like this, or you have to do it this way. And in a period of uncertainty and potential anxiety for students, for staff, for families, for communities, being really clear about what you stand for can be incredibly reassuring, both for the organisation and the communities and everything and everybody that it serves, because they can be clear about this is what our school, our educators stand for and believe in. And in a period of great uncertainty and great change, we can know that any decisions and changes that they make are made in alignment with what they really believe in. So if you have any time between now and the start of school, or any reflection time, or any strategizing time, sounds terribly business-like, doesn't it? Any time to think, is to think about, have we communicated what we really believe in to everybody? Does everybody know what we stand for? If we ask them, would they say it? And is it being lived in our organisation? That's just something to ponder on in a time of uncertainty, in a time of change, in a period of flux. Are we as individuals and as a collective within our organisation really clear about what we will hang on to for grim death like a toddler, the chocolate buttons, and what we will absolutely say no to every time in terms of our celery? One of the other things I talk about in Be More Toddler in my book um, is the the idea of having the confidence to say no or to go with your decisions. Now, I've mentioned the little tiger outfit there because that's my little boy who used to love to go to the supermarket or down into town in his dinosaur outfit, or in that case, his tiger outfit. And he was absolutely resolute in his decision making. This is what I am. This is what I'm going for, because that's what he absolutely believed in. So not only does our celery and our chocolate buttons give us a decision making tool, it gives us confidence. And what we want as leaders and teachers is the same kind of confidence in our decision making as a 2-year-old in a tiger outfit or a dinosaur outfit in a trolley in the bread aisle in Tesco. I've got a massive foam head. I am a T-Rex. What are you going to do about it? It's that kind of confidence we want to foster in ourselves as professionals, rather than kind of being blown by the winds and the whims of policy or decision making that's made by others, or things that don't align with our organisation's vision. The other thing that I talk about in Being More Toddler, one of the other things, is about my middle daughter and her hatred, I mean hatred, for 1 year of Santa. Now, I don't know whether you've tried to avoid Santa in December ever, but it's a little bit like trying to avoid oxygen. And my then, she was just turned 3, had decided Santa was not for her. No, not for me, mummy. I don't like him. He's very scary. I don't want anything to do with him. And she was unafraid to be unpopular because everybody else was disagreeing with her. They were saying, oh, but Santa's lovely. He brings you presents. He's such a nice man, such a kind man. And she was like, no. Nope. And so vehement was she that she was not going to like Santa, and so unafraid of being unpopular and making the unpopular decision that when it was actually Christmas morning and we came downstairs and Santa had been, she refused to open the presents because he had touched them. So there they sat, and she wasn't going to touch them, and we had to actually rewrap them for her birthday later on that year. And part of being really informed as a professional, as a teacher, and as a leader is having that confidence to be unpopular. To say, do you know what? Making the easy decision isn't always the right decision. Doing what everybody else is doing isn't always the right thing to do. Going with my kind of gut feeling and sticking to my guns, being absolutely resolute, is actually what I need to channel. Now, I'm not talking about being bloody minded, digging your heels in and not listening to good advice. But actually, if we're going to make change in our practice, if we're going to move our thinking forward, if we move our organisations forward, sometimes we have to be a little bit unpopular because change sometimes feels really uncomfortable for people. And sometimes people don't like change. They don't like the person who instigates the change. So part of being more toddler as a teacher and a leader is recognising that the popular decision and the easy decision isn't always the right decision. And we need to channel that kind of vehement belief in what we're doing that my middle daughter had. I don't like Santa. The other thing though that toddlers do that, again, as teachers and professionals we need to do, is they talk about fairness. It's not fair. It's not fair. And as a mother of 3 small children, I do think that sometimes I'm just basically not a parent or a teacher or a school leader. I'm basically a sibling referee, because all I do is referee various squabbles between them. And it's always based upon fairness. But one of the things we can learn from our young children, from our toddlers, is to focus on fairness, on equity, on equality. They are never afraid to say, he's being mean to me, she's being mean to me, that's not fair. But how often in our organisations do we have the confidence to call out something that is genuinely unfair? Be that something to do with the way the students are being, a student is being treated, maybe by their peers, may the way a family is being treated, the way a colleague is being treated, the way a colleague is being spoken to, either by another colleague or a parent or a leader. You know, do we have the professional confidence to call it out and say, that's mean, that's not right? Are we absolutely focused on equality, equity, and creating a fair classroom, a fair organisation? So when we think back to our chocolate buttons and our celery, have we got an element of focus on fairness there? And do we know the difference between equality and equity? And do we have those conversations in our schools? Do we talk about the differing needs of different children, their families, our staff, the communities that we serve? And do we strive to create a fair organisation? And do we have the confidence to call it out? He's being mean to me, she's being mean to me. One of the other things that my children are amazing at, and every child is amazing at, is the toddlers that we know focus on the basics and they prioritise the basics. They focus on sleep, food, play. Now, as adults, we kind of lose this focus. We stand in front of our classes, in front of our communities, in front of our staff, and we talk about the importance of eating well and sleeping well and well-being. But how often do we genuinely be more toddler and prioritise sleep, prioritise food, prioritise play? Because actually, they're the fuel. Those three things are the fuel for our creative and professional work that we do. Obviously, we need to eat well. But how many times when push comes to shove, when we're in a bit of a pinch point, do we, instead of eating nutritious food that will fuel ourselves, how often do we live on fresh air, caffeine, sugar, and then wonder why we feel like rubbish? So if we are to be more toddler, it is to prioritise food and to prioritise good food. We wouldn't give our children what we give ourselves sometimes in pinch points. We wouldn't expect them to live on cola or coffee and cake. We would ensure that they ate well, and we need to give ourselves that same care that we would give our toddler. The other thing that they do is prioritise sleep. Now, I don't know if you can see the bags under my eyes, but mine don't often prioritise sleep. They are the insomniac trinity of chaos, who tag team me throughout the night, most nights. But when they are genuinely tired and genuinely exhausted, for example, they've just come back from camping with some family, they're absolutely exhausted. So they're not tearing around the garden. One of them's curled up with a book on a settee. The other two have had a bath, they've had their tea, watching a little bit of telly. They're prioritising rest. And one of them's even already asked if they can go to bed because they're tired. They prioritise sleep. But as adults, we think we don't need sleep. And as teachers, we think we're superhuman and need even less sleep. But sleep is so important for ensuring that we function well. It's a little bit like flying a plane through a massive thunderstorm, lightning, turbulence, everything. And then the captain going, I know what's a good idea. I know it's a really brilliant idea. In this chaotic storm, I'm going to cut one of the engines. Great idea. And that's what we do to ourselves when we're under pressure, or we're feeling busy, or we're feeling like things are getting building up a little bit. We cut the engines, we cut the food, we cut the sleep. And actually, what that does is create a kind of down spiral of chaos. Those are the times we need to prioritise the basics, like our toddlers. The other thing that they do is they prioritise play. They are totally absorbed in the things that they find fun and the things that they are learning and the things that they are discovering. And how often do we afford that same luxury to ourselves to actually enjoy the play and the adventure of our lives? We work and we work and we work and we go into this kind of, we go to work in the dark, we come home in the dark, we work till late on our devices with that blue light flashing at us. And we don't take time to think, what do I find interesting? What makes me me? What have I got to bring to my job the next day, other than, I stayed up really late doing the spreadsheets, doing the data, planning this lesson. We need to make sure that we are teachers and people as well, that we go home and we connect with whatever gives us that kind of restorative, refreshed feeling, be that time with family, time with friends, time with your children, time with your pets, whether it's religious observance, a sport, a hobby, theatre, singing, whatever it is, but prioritising that play for you. I was talking the other day about the fact that the perception that a lot of children have that teachers sleep in the art cupboard and that they're there all the time. I thought, what a terrible, terrible thing. Everyone thinks it's a joke, but actually, when you unpick it, it's dreadful. They see teaching as a profession that is so demanding because you're always there at parents' evening and the disco and the fete and there in the morning, there in the evening, and there when they're riding their bikes outside the school late at night, still there. What message are we sending about our profession? That it's so demanding that you sleep there. Don't go home, don't have a life. So we need to remember to bring something of ourselves to the job, because I know that the best teachers are the ones who have that really meaningful professional student teacher relationship where the teachers know about the children and the children know about their teachers as well. What football team they support, the fact that they've got a new dog, the fact that they really like cycling or baking, because it's great teaching and learning sits on top of fantastic relationships, and you can't have a relationship with somebody who's got nothing of themselves to bring to the job. So I say this to school leaders and I say it to my early career colleagues, I say it to anybody who listens basically, that play is so important. Being a person with interests outside of work that restore you, that make you feel buoyed up and something other than some kind of work kind of automaton, is what makes a great teacher. Great teachers are people. Great teachers aren't workaholics who have nothing of themselves to bring. So be more toddler. Prioritise the basics. Sleep, food, play. Because there is no kid in the world that will go, I don't want to come and eat my lunch. I'm far too busy working. And neither will they say, quick, 4 o'clock in the morning, I've got to get up, I've got to catch a train to work. They might come in and jump on my head and remind me that, time to get up, mummy. No, it's not. But actually, they are very wise. They are very small, but they are very wise. Some of the other things that they do as well, apart from prioritise the basics, they know their chocolate buttons, they know their celery, they're unafraid of the decisions they have made, they're absolute confidence. The other thing is they build networks and they build friendships. And that's what we need to do in our roles as well. If you ever watch a toddler, they want to know about people, they want to learn about people, they will ask questions about people, they will seek out people who are positive and engaging, they will find out, they will ask questions about people they don't know. And that's, again, what we need to do as teachers and professionals, is build those professional networks. To do another thing that the toddlers do is that they ask for help for the monster under the bed. Now, I have never known a child who has had a nightmare in the night, or a bad dream, or needs something and thinks, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm absolutely terrified. I'm not going to ask for help. I'm going to lie here and just kind of work through it myself. No. Child has a nightmare. They lie there and this is what they shout. Mummy! Mummy! In our house, never daddy. That tells its own story. I'm joking. But mummy! Because they ask for help when things are scary. And as teachers and as leaders, we need to ask for help when things are scary from the networks that we build. The networks that we build in our own schools, in our wider networks, in sort of within our trusts or local authorities or groups of schools, within our social media networks, which we should curate to be positive and uplifting and helpful, and within the broader educational community, educational psychologists, child development specialists, medical professionals, all of those networks that we can call upon when they get scary. And if you're in a leadership position as well, people in HR, people in finance, people in legal, who can help you when you are scared. Because sometimes in the roles that we do, scary stuff happens. It might be a child protection issue. It might be a really difficult incident with a parent. It might be an ongoing financial situation in a school. Things can become frightening. What we don't need to do is try and do those things on our own. We need to be more toddler and shout for help, because when we ask for help, we get help and things get fixed much more quickly than lying there in the dark, in the metaphorical dark, and panicking about it by yourself. So my final word about being more toddler: focus on your chocolate buttons, focus on your celery. Use those as a decision-making tool to develop that same confidence so that you can wear your dinosaur costume at the supermarket and tell people you don't like Santa because you've gone through a rigorous process of saying, yep, this is what we stand for, or no, this is not what we stand for. Prioritise the basics: sleep, food, play. Come to school, come to work well. Come to school as a person with something to bring alongside your professional skills. So you bring your whole self to the job. And if you want to find out more about how you can be more toddler, you can have a little read of that book, available on Amazon or through John Catt, or you can read more about well-being and flexible, especially flexible working, in my new book that's coming out that's called Let's Talk About Flex. It'll be out with John Catt November, December time. So thank you ever so much for listening. Have an absolutely fantastic foray into the other sessions. Lovely to chat to you. If you want to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter at Emma_Turner75. Feel free to DM me or feel free to get in touch. Lovely to hear from you. And hopefully you'll have a fantastic festival. See you later. Bye-bye.